Let's see how we can use the COVAR function in Google Sheets. We have the COVAR function Google Sheet open, and it has the data template we require. In column A, we have the X variable values. And in column B, we have the Y variable values. In cell K1, we want to find the covariance of X and Y using function, that is, we want to see how these variables X and Y vary together. And in cell K2, we want to find the covariance of X and Y by calculation, that is, we want to check if the values we get in K1 and K2 cells are the same, that is, we get the same value of covariance using function, and by calculation. Now, to get the covariance of X and Y by calculation, first we need the mean of X, which is xm in cell G2, that is, we want the average of these X values given in the A2 to A11 range. And in cell H2, we want the mean of Y, which is ym, that is, we want the average of these values of Y, given in the B2, to B11 range. In column C, we want to calculate X minus xm, that is, for each value of X. We want to calculate X minus the mean of X, which is xm. And in column D, we want to calculate Y minus ym. That is, for each value of Y, we want to calculate Y minus the mean of Y, which is ym. In column E, we want to get the product of X minus xm and Y minus ym, that is, the product of the values we get in column C and column D. The covariance of X and Y by calculation is nothing but the sum of the product of X minus xm and Y minus ym, divided by the count of these values. So, first, to calculate the covariance of X and Y, using function, we'll head to the K1 cell, and we will use the COVAR function, which gives the covariance of a dataset. It takes data underscore Y and data underscore X as arguments. An example is shown. For a case, we'll write equal to COVAR, data underscore Y, is given in the B2 to B11 range, so we will write B2 to B11, comma, data underscore X, is given in the A2 to A11 range, so we will write A2 to A11. Let's close the bracket for the COVAR function. We see that we get the covariance of X and Y, using function as 16.5, which is a positive value. Now, to get the covariance of X and Y by calculation, we will first calculate the mean of X, which is xm, in G2 cell. So, we will use the average function. Arguments for the average function are the X values, which are given in the A2 to A11 range. Let's close the bracket for the average function. We see that the average, or the mean of X, which is xm, is 5.5. If we drag this formula to the H2 cell, we see that the argument for the average function is updated to B2 to B11, in which we have the Y values. So we get the average, or the mean of Y, which is ym, as 51. Now, to calculate X minus xm, we will head to the C2 cell, and we will write equal to X is given in the A2 cell, minus xm is given in the G2 cell. Since we do not want this G2 to change, as we drag the formula down, we will lock this using F4 or the function plus F4 keys, as the case may be. Let's autofill the data. So we get the X minus xm values. To get the Y minus ym values, we will head to the D2 cell, and we will write equal to Y is given in the B2 cell, so we will write B2 minus mean of Y, which is ym, is given in the H2 cell, so we will write H2. Again, we do not want this H2 to change, as we drag the formula down, so we will lock it using F4 or function plus F4 keys, as the case may be. Let's autofill the data. So we get the Y minus ym values. To get the product of x minus xm, and y minus ym, we will head to the E2 cell, and we will write equal to C2, multiplied by D2. Let's autofill the data. So we get the x minus xm, multiplied by y minus ym values, in the E column. Now to get the covariance of x and y by calculation, we will head to the K2 cell. Covariance is nothing but the sum of these values, divided by the count of these values. So we will write equal to sum E2 to E11 divided by count E2 to E11. We see that we get the covariance of x and y by calculation as 16.5, which is the same as we got in cell K1, by using the function. Now, if we want to check how these x and y values vary with each other, we can create a graph or chart. So we will select the x and y values, then we will head to the Insert tab, and we will click Chart. Let's move this chart a little. Let's make it smaller. Now, since this is a column chart, in the chart editor, we will select the chart type as line. So we get a line chart. To get a better view of this, we will head to the Customize tab, in the horizontal axis. We will change the minimum value, to 0, and the max, or the maximum value, to 11. Let's close the chart editor. We see that as these x values increase, the y values also increase. And as these x values decrease, the y values also decrease, that is, they vary in the same direction. Now, we see that we have used this formula to get the y values, instead of this 2, if we write -2. And if we drag this formula down till the B11 range, the graph of y versus x changes. As x increases, y decreases. So x and y vary in opposite direction. We see that the covariance by function, and by calculation, is -16.5. That is, the magnitude remains the same but the sign changes, that is, they vary in opposite directions. Now, suppose instead of these y values, we have something like 5, 2, 5, 5. And again, the same values here. We see that the graph is something like this. There is no particular way in which x and y vary with each other, the covariance of x and y, using function, and by calculation is 0. Let's change back the y value to, equal to, a2. Multiplied by 2 plus 40. Let's drag this formula down. We see that the covariance is updated to 16.5, and the graph is also updated. With this, we have successfully learned how to use the COVAR function in Google Sheets. Thank you for your time. Please like, share, and subscribe if this video was useful.